Roll call vote.
David Reed.
Here.
John Hutchings.
Here.
John Best.
Here.
Kirby Rossiter.
Yes, sir. Here.
Lindsey Phillips. Harold Woods.
Here.
Rick Lawrence.
Here.
Michael Parker.
Here.
George Larson. I'm here. Michael. Here.
Okay, no old business, new business, public hearing, data zoning text amendment proposal, continuation.
Yep, so we need a motion to re-enter the public hearing from last night.
So moved. I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, we're in public hearing.
All right, give me 1 second. All right, so everybody, welcome back to the second part of our public hearing. We've already demonstrated that we noticed this public hearing that was taken care of last night. The main thing I need to do is I need to swear in anybody who is going to speak tonight, or anybody who has submitted something to swear to its authenticity. So if you're going to speak tonight, if you signed up to do it, or you signed up last night to speak and you haven't gotten a chance to do it, please stand up. Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or otherwise affirm to tell the truth? Please say I do. I do. Excellent. So, a little different tonight. We don't have any groups. We just have individuals. So you all get approximately 3 minutes. And we request that you come up here. There's your microphone. State your names, your name and address. And also, Mr. Reed, Chairman Reed, will have 2 questions for you. Have you been sworn in? And are you a resident of Mason County? If you haven't been sworn in, or if somebody arrives late and hasn't been sworn in but wants to speak, I will swear you in. Okay.
Okay, ready?
Yeah.
First up's Carol Sugar.
Just check.
My name is Carol Sugars. I live at 3885 Kentucky Highway 435 in Dover, Kentucky.
Ma'am, please stand closer to the microphone.
Is that better?
Yeah.
I'm not against progress or data centers. I'm not upset with any of my friends and neighbors who have signed up for the deal of a lifetime. However, we need to have safeguards in place to protect those of us left to live near a data center or any other industry proposed in an area outside of an industrial park. Many of us are living on farms that have been in our families for generations, and we have no intention of moving. Tonight, I am here to request reasonable protections to our way of life, something I don't think is too much to ask by the residents who have received no details in this proposed project. Specifically, the current setback projected at 250 feet is grossly inadequate, and I am asking for proper setbacks from property lines of non-participating residents of at least 1,500 to 2,500 feet. I can't even imagine living any closer to a hyperscale data center. The height and size alone would be monstrous if this is truly a 5,000-acre site with a height of 75 feet. In addition, we need written protections, plans, and updates throughout the construction and completion of the project on erosion, flooding, noise, light pollution that could impact us, our land, our animals, and our homes. Innovation and new opportunities are not something I or my neighbors are against, but more importantly, we are for preserving our homes, our farms, and our way of life. For us, the most progressive proposal for our community would be succeeding in protecting our land for the next generation. Thank you.
Danny Garrison, and the next one up behind him will be Dr. Gross,
I'm Danny Garrison. I live at
would you speak a little closer?
I'm Danny Garrison. I live at 31008 Kentucky 435 Dover. Put my glasses on. As a Mason County farmer, my family, like most of you, treasure being rural. We treasure having a small town culture where people know and care about each other. We treasure the beauty of the farmland and the natural landscape. We treasure clean water, clean air. We treasure our regional wildlife. Unregulated data center development is a huge threat to all of these. We are here today hoping to collaborate with you to work on how to protect what we treasure and be proactive by addressing such issues in our comprehensive plan. There are 5,426 data centers in the U.S. 633 of those are in Virginia. Local governments in Virginia are now trying to catch up with regulations to deal with negative issues associated with rampant data center growth. We must be proactive rather than reactive. Not all data center developments are created equal. Some are good neighbors, while others are just there to exploit resources. Without any knowledge of who the Mason County data center developer is, we are forced to prepare for the worst and hope for the best. Based on Virginia's firsthand experiences, most data center developers overpromise and underdeliver. Data centers come in all shapes and sizes, including streaming platforms, cloud services, AI, hyperscale data centers, and cryptocurrency mining. We need to add definition to our plan that addresses the data center industry. Use of prime farmland for data centers should be minimized as much as possible. Food security is national security. No farms, no food. In 2022, the farm census in Mason County had 98,439 acres of land and farms. Local landowners with a combined acres of 10,000 acres have been contacted for land options. This is an alarming scenario. We must have restrictions on the percentage of farmland we are willing to sacrifice in the name of progress. If we must use prime farmland, then we must add measures to our plan to proceed with caution and then provide for restorations that the land when the data center is obsolete. We owe that to our grandchildren. We must also encourage farmers to further protect their farms by using agricultural districts for the Kentucky Department of Ag PAGE program. Thank you.
Tim Grosser. And next up after that will be Karen Ravencraft.
Hello, everybody. My name's Tim Grosser, MD. I live in 717 Forest Hill Drive, Maysville. Farms are 3282 and across the road on Germantown Road. So I just want to talk about the water. Andrew Shaw didn't know what chemicals the data center puts in the water, and even worse, didn't know how they were going to try to clean them out. Well, this is all research from the Smithsonian Institute in Washington. The chemicals are nitrogen gas, sulfur dioxide gas, carbon dioxide, that's all the air pollution part, polyfluoroalkyls and polyfluoroalkyl oxides, which are the forever chemicals, mercury, lead, and rare earth minerals. Those are all ground pollutants. The polyfluoroalkyls cause kidney cancer, testicle cancer, prostate cancer, and ovary cancer. They cause immunosuppression, which is inability to fight infections, inability for immunizations to work. They cause infertility in both sexes. So our water treatment plant, she said, it's our responsibility, it's not gonna be able to handle whether 5 million to 25 million gallons of water on top of what we already have to handle now. That it's not our responsibility to put clean water back to wherever they're getting it, which should be the river. So, I mean, they need to be cleaning their own water, either at least as good as or better than where they get it. So I propose that we need at least 6 months on a moratorium to a year to fully study all these problems, or better yet, just block the whole project. Thank you.
Karen Ravencraft. Pass. Robin Kilgore. And after that, it'll be Martha Perkins and Gavin Perkins.
Robin Kilgore, 3513 Tuckahoe Road, Mansfield, Kentucky.
You've been sworn in.
Yes. Good evening, and thank you for allowing me to speak tonight. As we discuss the proposed data center, I want to encourage everyone to take an honest look and fact-based look at the economic reality facing Mason County. Too often, new opportunities in our community have been met with hesitation and uncertainty, even when they bring new life to our local economics. Agriculture will always be a part of who we are, but it can no longer carry the full economic weight of our community alone. We must build upon that heritage with new forms of industry and sustain today's workforce and future generations. The challenges facing agriculture today are not caused by data centers or renewable energy. They stem from global markets, raising input costs, technology changes, and decades of consolidation. Mason County has lost millions of agriculture income over the years, and we need new industries to strengthen and compete against what agriculture used to provide. Change is never easy, but still far riskier. Change is never easy, but standing still is far more risky. Mason County's strengths has always come from the willingness to adapt. When individuals express concern about new opportunities, I understand their feelings, but we must also recognize that protecting the past cannot come at the expense of our future. The responsible path forward is simple. Keep an open mind, focus on the facts, and evaluate this project based on real data, not emotion. If we allow fear of change to guide our decisions, we risk further population decline, loss of investment, and loss of jobs. Because we all know what happens to rural counties that say no to everything new. Fewer jobs, weakened public services, higher taxes, and worst of all, our young people leave because no opportunities at home. That is not the Mason County we want. Meanwhile, the facts are clear. Data centers are among the highest growing and most stable sectors of modern industry. According to Google's 2024 Economic Impact Study, in Ohio, data centers generate millions in long-term tax revenue, the kind of investment that could strengthen our own schools, emergency services, and local structures. National data shows that every one data center job creates as many as 5 additional local jobs, following from construction to logistics to maintenance, food services, and retails. Communities such as New Albany, Ohio, Lenore, North Carolina, each with deep rural roots have experienced improve schools, better economic stability by welcoming this type of growth. These are the communities very much like ours, but they made a choice. They said yes to the opportunity. That is what Mason County deserves, this same chance. I thank you for your guys' consideration.
Martha Perkins, and then Gavin Perkins. You've been sworn in?
I have been.
Okay. Resident of Mason County.
I am.
Okay, thank you.
My name is Martha Perkins. I live on Clarks Run Road on a small farm now owned by my son Gavin and his family. It was a work in progress for many years that my husband Jeff completed before his death in December of 23. He prepared me and secured my life on this home place with the intent of the third generation taking it over. Yes, you may say it's a hobby farm, and you'd be correct. I don't sell products to Kroger's, but that doesn't mean that it doesn't have any less of an impact. The chosen life has prepared each generation to be successful adults. I am a retired registered nurse. I was a happy wife for 52 years, a proud mother, a grandmother. These are simple credentials will have meaning during this short reflection of country life. My parents, grandparents, husband, and his family were hardworking farmers on a small scale, but it was enough to put the farming in our blood. Country living in Bracken and Mason County has been a special way of life for our family and many others. My grandfather farmed in Dover on Eden by the river. Our family has continued that tradition, naming our farms. My brother, Little Eden, Jeff and I named ours Eden by the lake. Jeff and I had owned a farm on Tucky Hill overlooking the majestic Ohio River, but Jeff's work career took him between car moose plants, so we moved to northern Kentucky after 4 years of living in a subdivision. We yearned to get back to the country. So Mason County, here we come. That's when we purchased our little piece of paradise, Eden by the lake. We soon became farmers again, showing and breeding market lambs, and today we continue to breed and raise lambs along with corn and hay for feed. These are mostly for 4-H and FFA projects, which contribute to our lifestyle. They still show livestock in Kentucky and some nationally. They don't always win a banner, but they always come home a winner by achieving so much more: responsibility, dedication, hard work, work ethics, and leadership. We don't want to give that up. Working in the healthcare field, I have gained valuable knowledge. I have real concerns about being responsible for adding to the never-ending environmental hazards and the pollution introduced to our children. I cared for and watched my husband fight esophageal cancer for 9 years. Exposure to environmental carcinogens, I feel, was a connection to his diagnosis. We need to be cautious and proactive about negatively adding to the human impact of our environment. We have to ensure the grounding of the soil of God's given earth. Thank you. And
Gavin Perkins, and then after him it would be Barb Jefferson.
Good evening, Gavin Perkins, 4192 Clarks Run Road. So I've had the privilege throughout my career to work on a number of industrial scale and large mining projects And, you know, when those concepts are first brought to the table, one of the first things that we do in those situations is we sit down and try to find similar projects that have taken place. And when we do that, one of the best things to do is to look at those failures and successes that those projects have had. So I really do, I ask this Planning Commission, take a deep look and please, let's seek out the failures. Let's seek out the successes. Let's see what works. Let's see what doesn't work for our community. With that being said, you know, we had an expert here last week, and I think that's good to involve experts, and I think it's good to ask questions. But last week when Mr. Shaw was here, you know, I asked a question, and he continually brought up that he was comfortable with 250 to 300 foot setbacks. I also asked Mr. Shaw after that if he knew of any residential neighbor complaints, you know, because of that, and he answered no. I do find that a little odd because in just a few minutes I found hundreds and hundreds of neighborhood complaints in that New Albany area, you know, related to data center and data center campuses. Of these complaints in the New Albany area, a lot were about significant noise, light pollution, strains on local infrastructure, construction impacts, secrecy surrounding projects, that's a surprise, health concerns, and complaints often focusing on low frequency hum that were affecting sleep. It was reported that some residents had spent thousands of dollars on mitigation efforts with no success. So again, I plead to you guys, let's look for the failures, let's look for the successes, let's see what worked in similar projects. I was also glad Dr. Grosser was able to bring up water treatment again. I thought that was something that really wasn't well answered by Mr. Shaw. And, you know, that's kind of concerning, you know, especially, you know, he works for a company, Kimley Horn was who he was representing, and I did a little research on that. So there's currently a lawsuit which represents over 1,000 homeowners that alleges negligence and professional malpractice by both the city and the engineering firm, Kimley Horn. And that is directly related to a water treatment plant that they engineered. So let's keep some of those things in mind. So again, I'm going to finish with that, but I just wanted to say that and want you guys to look at those successes, look at those failures, and let's make some smart decisions based on things that we can observe. Thank you.
Bob Jefferson, and then it would be Reese Burton.
I have. Barb Jefferson, I live at 3294 Tuckahoe Road.
And here you are.
Is that better?
Yeah.
Somehow, this process has gotten back-active. I'm not blaming the JPC, they're just following their protocols. I'm talking about transparency. Last night's presentation only reinforced my opinion that we've gone from point A to point C without going to a point B. Since I first learned about the proposed hyperscale data center, I've been asking that Mason County citizens be given the opportunity to express concerns, participate in discussions, ask questions, get answers, all in an open public forum with decision makers, the developer, objective people with specialized knowledge, especially those with opposing views. That's my definition of a public forum. On July 16th, I spoke with Tyler McHugh, who assured me there would be multiple such public forums well in advance of formal hearings. Well, here we are, and that never happened. I learned that some people in the community had been invited to meetings with county officials, the developer, a variety of stakeholders, meetings described as open exchanges of questions, concerns, and answers. I had no problem with that, but I too had questions and concerns and nowhere to take them. I sent a letter to Judge McNeil on October 16th, which also has been submitted as a written comment. I disputed his claims that everything except the developer's name had been disclosed. I expressed concerns, I asked questions, I asked for public forums. He didn't acknowledge receiving the letter, much less respond. At the Chamber of Commerce State of the Community on October 30th, I asked him directly, when are Mason County residents going to have the same opportunity those invited groups have been given? I heard many, many words, but I didn't hear any words that answered the question. And yes, I was rude. I interrupted. My question was not being answered, and it never was. Overall, put a bow on it, bottom line, the message I'm coming away with is that you're too badly misinformed to appreciate what's in your own best interest. Sit down, shut up, and trust us.
Yeah.
We got data centers one-on-one, basic information, the chance to ask questions, as long as they weren't about the massive project being proposed here. The JPC and the public also deserve the Information Seminar Part 2, Hyperscale Data Campuses, Unique Characteristics and Challenges, with dialogue, questions and answers, pros and cons. We have public hearings that include presentations by design where people talk at you, not with you. Hearings that permit comments, but no chance to ask meaningful questions. We have a one-size-fits-all text amendment draft meant to regulate any and all data centers, whether they're 20 acres or 2,000. I think it's time to pump the brakes, slow down, back up, give us time to hold those public forums, help us become educated community partners who are better prepared to make well-informed comments on a carefully crafted zoning text amendment. My father often said, a job worth doing is worth doing well. If anything deserves to be done well, that's it. Thank you.
Reese Burton, you can, and then it'll be Brian Epstein.
Hello, my name is Reese Burton. I'm a resident of Mason County, lifelong resident. My address is 6103 Hampton Road. I'd like to compare this to a toxic relationship. So, in a toxic relationship, that person, they convince you that you need to change everything about yourself. And then they tell you, well, you're beautiful and you're special. Well, Mason County is special. And we need to realize that we don't need to change for anyone. We have our assets. We have the prime farmland. Next, I want to say I fully support the 100-foot setback from adjoining properties. And I would also fully support a community impact study and an environmental study. I'd also like to say that I'm a student at Eastern Kentucky University. I'm a senior studying to be a speech therapist. And I'd like to say that I plan on coming back. I plan on working in Mason County, Kentucky. And it was mentioned last night by our officials that we want people to stay in Mason County. They said they wanted people to stay in Mason County and that a data center project would somehow make us stay with all the negative impacts. If a data center were to be built in Mason County, I would not be able to stay in Mason County with all the negative effects. So really, I appreciate you all. I appreciate the work that you're doing. I appreciate everybody that came out tonight. And hats off to you all, and I really thank you.
Brian Epstein, and then it'll be Owen Brown.
I'm Brian Helpenstein, resident of Mason County. I have not. I came in late. I came in late last night. Do I have to be sworn in?
Yeah.
Yep. Raise your right hand. Do you swear or otherwise affirm to tell the truth? Please say I do.
I do. I have to be, I'm a little nervous. I feel like I'm in trouble. I've been sent to the office or something. And I was just studying, when I was sitting over in my seat, I was just studying about tyranny and stuff like that, because I do that kind of stuff. I dig around about some things that's happened in the past, you know, and I think Hitler and people like him were put into power under the premise of, we're going to take care of you, we're going to look out for you, we love you, we're the best, and you're the best, and then he gets in and people don't, or they get in and people don't agree with what they're doing, and they're like, I know what's best for you, I definitely know what's best for me, and I'm going to do whatever I'm going to do. You need to sit back or go to jail or be killed or whatever. I believe, maybe it's just my opinion, not sure I could have my own, I believe we in Mason County have been in a state of tyranny for a long time around here. This is something that's been going on. This is why this place is coming here. These places come here to poor places, poverty-stricken, uninformed, ignorant people, you know. And I just got off the phone with Jody Ashby, who used to be had Tyler's job before him, the economic development lady or whatever. I just got off the phone, and I talked to her before. And she's like, man, you all will put up with anything down there, won't you? And I talked to her about a lot of stuff. Like, well, before we go any further, I hopefully I'm not out of line by doing this, but I did this down at the city meeting a month or two ago. And I was just wondering, for anybody involved, any authorities or anybody involved in this project, who in here has not signed an NDA? Could you please raise your hand if you have not signed an NDA? Okay, good. For those of you who raised your hand, I'm proud of you. Because we got some surprises in the past, some people who didn't even look like they should maybe be involved, but they've signed them. And I think we just saw where Rick Ross said that he was asked and he didn't. Commissioner Boone and different people like that. I think Peggy Frame over here, I don't even think they even brought this to her. I think they probably knew they weren't going to get anything out of her. Anyway, the county judge tried to bring in a rehab facility, like an agency called Addiction Recovery Care, otherwise known as ARC. Right now they have several indictments. The FBI investigated them, they're in trouble. They sold out to ARIA, Addiction Recovery Institute of America. So, you know, thinking this is what's best for us, they were giving drugs to their clients and making money off of them, Medicaid fraud and all that kind of stuff. But they come under the premise of, we're going to help you. We're going to come to Maysville to save the lives of your children. We want to help. They come under that premise, then by the time they're done, we find out that they're just here to use us and make money off of us. Now, Google, Meta, Facebook, what are the other ones? Amazon. I know these, but we look up to these people or whatever, but these are the hogs of this world. We're talking about single people worth over $100 billion. These are the hogs. And those of you all been around any pigs, have you seen them? I know they bring home the bacon, they have the bacon in them, but do they ever come around here trying to feed you? They're looking for food. These are the hogs. They're not here to help, to bless us and our children and stuff like that. They're here to make more money.
The closing thoughts, Mr.
Okay. I was told that there were, by a guy who works for the EKP, that they're down there live trapping endangered bats right now. The company, somebody's down there off Tuckahoe, Nerva, whatever, that they're trapping endangered bats. What's all that about? You know what I'm saying? We know that if this thing goes in, we're getting ready. There's going to be a bunch of homeless animals or dead ones or whatever. I don't know what they're going to do with them, but how do you really look at all those? And I know that sometimes I'm looked at as the cat and dog empath or something like that or whatever. I just think it's fair for everything to have a right to live. Wild animals can do that on their own. I haven't heard anything about, you know, we're going to get a nice big fat rehab out of this, or we're going to get a better animal shelter. That's the kind of manipulation you need to be doing to us, saying we're going to have a bunch of really nice things.
All right,
Thank you, Brian. Your time's up.
All right.
Thank you, Mr. Evans.
Next is Owen Brown, and after him will be Stephen Richards. Is Owen here? Stephen Richards?
Stephen Richards, 2305 Glen Drive, Batesville. Yeah, Benson Morning. 3 minutes, I can't even tell you how wonderful I am in 3 minutes. We can't build a relationship like that. But, I'll, in the order, in interest of brevity, I'll limit this to 2 points, but I haven't heard anything from the dead people yet. Okay, in every election in politics today, you always get dead people voted. We haven't heard that yet. There's 117 cemeteries in Mason County, and we haven't heard one thing about how remains will be preserved. The largest data center in the world is in China, and it's only got a footprint of about 250 acres. And if they're asking for 5,000, I would then request that rather than shuffling all the bones up and stick them in a pile, that they should be able to reserve the cemetery space. The second point, yeah, it's in there. We talked a little bit about solid waste and said wasn't going to be much. But whatever it is going to be hauled across the 68 AA and AA Route 11 intersections. So for the life of the operation, the solid waste will be drugged through downtown. Now, I assume most of you all have PCs, and y'all probably have PCs. How often do you all replace those? All right. And if you're trying to be a world-class competitor in the computing industry, you're going to have to replace this equipment on a pretty frequent basis. So I'm just saying, there's going to be a lot more solid waste than what we've probably been led to believe, not discounting the initial construction part. And if that's going to be drugged across downtown, I call 68 and AA downtown. But if that's going to be drugged through there, it's going to be a lot of additional long-term. And I know we just fixed the intersection, and thank you very much for that. But if it gets to the point where people are going to resent all that additional traffic, then what's going to happen is the dead people won't speak again. And somehow, when you all stop the bypass where it comes into 68, I understand it was probably an archaeological issue, but there's a good chance that that routing will have to be revisited again in order to keep that from going downtown. Now, if the largest data center in the world is only taking 250 acres and they're asking for 5,000, I'm asking you to request that they dispose of their solid waste on site. It'll ultimately result in them saving all the haulage fees to the dump across all those miles they'll have to truck it. Plus, it'll also reduce the traffic at that intersection so we don't have to deal with that as soon as possible. But then also, if we can leave the bypass where it is, that'd suit me real well, because I was getting ready to buy a piece of property there, and next thing I know, had I not come to this meeting last night, it's dead center from where I was going to buy and build. So, I mean, that is one of the negative impacts of all of this lack of information being made available to the public.
Closing thoughts, sir.
Because the public runs around and makes their decisions and gets hammered on some of this stuff. I will say this, it's not a threat, it's a friendly piece of advice. If any of you all have the slightest inclination of making any unethical money off of this, I'd like for you to realize that with increases in technology such as fingerprints, DNA, and now AI, it's very simple to investigate real estate records and all that stuff. So I would not even think about doing anything unethical associated with this project, because the chances of being caught are going to be really high. I'm not going to be looking at it, but somebody will. So you all do the best you can and treat the community you serve the best you can, and I think we'll all make out well. Thank you.
Pam? Yeah. After Pam will be Andy Gross.
My name is Pamela Wilkin, and I live at 1115 US Highway 68, Maysville, Kentucky. Thank you for having us here this evening. If planning and zoning establishes the setbacks at a conservative, safe, practical distance now and do what's best for our community, this places the pressure on the county commissioners who signed the NDAs to do the right thing. Accept the setbacks of 1,500 to 2,000 feet or reduce them. This will confirm if they truly represent the people of Mason County or the data center. Data centers emit noise and non-audible emissions. What is a safe distance for families living next to these emissions? The physics, distance, attenuation calculator, and scientists recommend a buffer, you're not going to like this, of 1.5 to 2 miles between data centers and homes. Noise impact evidence from the New York Times, their study shows constant hum of servers, generators, and HVAC systems can travel for miles, affecting sleep and stress levels. They are recommending 1,500 to 2,000 feet as a responsible compromise. Light pollution. Contrary to Andy Shaw stating that New Albany has no complaints, if you review their Ohio government page, it will tell you differently. Residents report bright facility lighting shining into their homes. Comments from residents Jana Morton and Nancy Roberts describe lighting as obnoxious and disruptive. There's a need for a moratorium. A project of this scale requires thorough planning and assessments for the protection of prime farmland, neighboring farms that are operating, residents who cannot relocate, and also to ensure health, environmental, and infrastructure concerns all need to be addressed before proceeding. Economic and community impacts. Increased environmental stress leads to higher utility costs for residents and businesses. Seniors on fixed incomes would face greater financial burden. Kentucky's stagnant minimum wage, unchanged for 16 years, makes households more vulnerable. High energy usage of data centers may deter other businesses from locating to our region. Loss of prime farmland for a low employment, high energy use industry raises serious questions about a long-term community benefit. I question the wisdom of the loss of prime farmland for the benefit of artificial intelligence for an industry that likely won't supply a large number of jobs compared to its demand for energy. I'm so disappointed in this community's elected officials for allowing the loss of 23% of our prime farmland with such disregard. What percentage will you squander away next year? Thank you.
Andy Gross, and then it'll be Trustee Porter.
Mason County Joint Planning Commission. Soon you'll have to decide
Sir, your name and address, please.
I'm Andy Grosser, and I live at 3282 Germantown Road, Maysville, Kentucky.
Thank you.
You're going to be deciding soon whether or not a huge plot of agricultural zone land should be changed to industrial to accommodate a data center project, the likes of which may not have been seen yet. This decision will be among, if not the most consequential decisions in the history of our county. You've been given vague and or ambiguous figures by our fiscal court and industrial authority. For example, one day there will be 400 badge-in jobs, Another day, it'll be 150 badge-in jobs. One day, the incomes are six-figure. Another day, they're 80,000. Not to mention, they should clarify if those income figures reflect take-home pay or the value of the total compensation packages that will be offered, including vacation, retirement, health insurance, because this could be very misleading to our citizens. 24 or so landowners will instantly become very happy, and I'm happy for them also. However, 500 or so adjacent neighbors will have their lives turned upside down, and we're not offered Owen's golden ticket of 10 times market value. Nor do many of them want his golden ticket, because this is their home. There are families out there that have shed tears together in their kitchens about the possibility of losing their generational homesteads. One even noted that the land was in his family for over 100 years and he may be the one to lose it. We've provided extensive data to assist you in your decision. It's unfair to all these families to be told to go find a new home or endure years of construction hell due to growing pains when there's property that's already zoned and suitable for this project. Quite honestly, JPC, it's unfair to ask you to make that decision when it's not required. As these families that are displaced or have to live in that, they could be your family, and you may eat with them, and you might shop with them, and you might go to church with them. This is not a time to be aggressive with timing. Time is not of the essence. This is a time to be thorough and considerate, and it's okay to be guided by morals and not just dollars. And I might add just one more thing, that if this project had been following most of the guidelines outlined in Janet's PowerPoint yesterday, we likely would not even have to be here discussing this. It's that simple. Thank you.
Dusty Porter, and then it'll be Dwayne Sharp.
Good evening. I'm Dusty.
Was you sworn in?
Yes, I was. I'm Dusty Porter of 70 Orchard Hill, Fort Thomas, Kentucky. I do not live here in the county. However, we own and operate a business here. My mother and father built and operated Meadowland Village Mobile Home Park on my grandmother's farm in 1998. My grandmother had owned that farm since the 1920s, along with her husband. Additionally, with the AA highway, they had 60 acres of our farm rezoned for commercial use. I'm fully for this data hypercenter complex. Since Toyota opened their plant in Georgetown, there have been approximately 100 companies locate or relocate to that area. I know that this is not Toyota's employment. However, with this investment and other companies employing hundreds, if not thousands, would consider Maysville first. I believe that this data complex will spur economic growth, maybe not for you, maybe not for our kids, but certainly for our kids, our grandkids, and great-grandkids' futures. Do not let this opportunity pass you by. Thank you.
Dwayne Sharp, and then Max Moran.
Good evening, and I just want to thank the Joint Planning Commission for everything you guys.
Name and
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm Dwayne Sharp. I am the mayor of Germantown, Kentucky. My address is 4392 Kentucky Highway 10. And like I said, I was just wanting to thank the Joint Planning Commission for everything you guys do. I know this is a very difficult situation to work on, and I do appreciate all your efforts. But the reason I'm here tonight is I have concerns for the impact on our emergency services Right now, we have fire departments in all of our volunteer fire departments. They survive on fundraisers, whether it be breakfasts or steak dinners or whatever they can do to try to raise money. And they are shorthanded. We have guys that are on 3 different departments just so they can keep the numbers up. We have, some funding, but the expenses go up over the years, and I feel like something like an impact, it's actually called it's an impact fund, and basically what it is, like a company of this size or magnitude that comes into an area, it's going to have such an impact on our infrastructure as far as ambulance services or police or our firefighters, because like even in the construction phase, you have probably supposed 1,000 workers working there. So when you have 1,000 extra people in the county, that means extra policing, people getting hurt, accidents happening or whatever. And I feel like something should be in place to protect those services. And I don't know how that would work as far as how the impact fee would be distributed, but I feel like something of this magnitude, there should be something to protect our fire departments and emergency people. So, but that's pretty much all I have, and like I said, I appreciate what you guys are doing, and that's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you. Max Moran, and then Jeremy Jenkins.
I have been sworn in. My address is 4837 Kentucky Highway 596. I've thought long and hard for a long time on what I wanted to say to you guys tonight. I don't even have a speech with me. Just speaking purely from the heart. First thing I want to talk about is how did we even get here? Well, let me share that with you real quick. It was back in June of this year. I got a phone call asked, could I come to this meeting at a person's home out in the county? I said, sure, I'll come out, I don't care. I was asked to come and explain what the heck even is a data center. I was made aware of a possibility that we would have one of 3 things come to Mason County in January. It could have been a data center, could have been an aluminum mill, could have been some other big heavy industry. Don't know what that was, but that's not the point. I went there, there's 8 people there. Lots of questions were asked, a lot of concern and worry in people's faces. At the end of that meeting, those original 8 people decided they wanted a second meeting. At the second meeting, there was 30 people there. Said the same kind of stuff. And at the end of that, we wrote up a bunch of questions to address the fiscal court. July 15th, 2025, I requested 2 weeks before then to be put on the fiscal court docket to speak, not as a citizen, not as Max Moran, but as a person for these people. A lot of these people were genuinely concerned. There were several elderly people there, people who couldn't really walk, couldn't really see. They were concerned. So, waited and waited, never got added to the agenda. It even got to the point the day of, still wasn't added to the agenda, had to come up with a plan to jump to the podium to speak. Luckily, and I will give him credit, the county judge, he did let me speak. Only reason I got to speak is because that courtroom was full. He gave me 2 minutes. 2 minutes. I said, all right. So I went to my questions. I had a whole comment section laid out, and I was coming before with concerns. Not to say no to it, not to even say yes to it, but just concerns. And what all I was met with was basically getting stonewalled the whole time. And it wasn't me getting stonewalled, it was the community. So that brings me to now. I asked the JPC, when everyone's done speaking tonight, when you exit your public session, vote for a moratorium, not to say yes, not to say no. A moratorium is nothing more than a pause. What this will do, and we've seen it already happen in 2 counties in Kentucky, you can look this up, Oldham County and Bede County. They both passed moratoriums. Their fiscal courts also uphold them too. It allowed time for people like you, distinguished members, to sit down, not have to be pushed in any which direction, adequately draft ordinances, regulations that do welcome business, but don't ruin the community. So with this last bit here, that's my ask. Do a moratorium so you guys have the time, because I know you all are volunteers. You don't get paid for this job. I know most of you do a whole lot of good in the community. And this is my ask because when this group, We Are Mason County, was put together, the way it's structured, I hope it outlives me. It's not to be anti-data center. It's designed to take on community issues. My hope is when this topic is over, it goes on and lives on to take on other issues. Like maybe there's a bad road that the county doesn't know that needs to be fixed. Maybe there's a dog issue. Maybe there's people who are down on their luck and just need a few bucks. That's the intent of this organization. And I'll say it one last time. Please consider doing a moratorium, not to just help the community, but to help you guys out. Thank you.
Jeremy Jenkins and then Fran Sarver. You been sworn in, sir?
I have been sworn in. Jeremy Jenkins, 2631 Willhite Drive, Lexington, Kentucky. Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Jeremy Jenkins, Business Manager of Laborers Local 189. I represent hundreds of union laborers here in Mason County and the surrounding areas. I'm here today because this data center proposal represents a real opportunity for our region. We're talking about hundreds of construction jobs, long-term tech positions, and a major investment that can strengthen our local tax base for decades. But to be clear, this project is only as good as the people it puts to work. If we're going to welcome a data center of this size into our community and support the infrastructure changes, zoning considerations, and long-term commitments that come with it, then we must ensure that the benefits flow directly to the people who live and work here. That means any ordinance, development agreement, or a conditional use permit for this project must include a strong, enforceable local hire clause. A requirement that company uses local skilled union building trades for construction, a requirement that these jobs go to the men and women who already call this place home. Workers who pay taxes here, raise their families here, and reinvest their wages right back into our economy. A requirement that contractors on this project meet the highest standards of safety, training, and accountability. Union trades bring all of that. We bring registered apprenticeship programs, safety certified, and highly skilled workers who know how to build complex facilities correctly the first time. A project like this isn't the place to experiment with untrained labor or out-of-state contractors. This requires the best, and the best are right here in Mason County. By adding the local hire clause, you ensure good jobs stay local, tax dollars cycle back through our own communities, and workers have the training and experience to build a facility that meets standards. The project is completed on time, safely, and with long-term reliability. Hiring union contractors and union labor will also ensure local workers receive good livable wages, family health care, and the promise of a pension. Choosing local union labor doesn't just benefit workers, it benefits the developer. Union trades have worked on some of the most notable structures in this county, like the Simon Kenton Bridge, the William H. Harsher Bridge, Meldau Dam, International Paper Mill, East Kentucky Power Spurlock Station, and nearly every school, hospital, and roadway. When you hire trained professionals, you get fewer delays, fewer change orders, and fewer costly mistakes. So yes, this project can be a win. It can bring economic growth and real opportunities. But let's make sure it brings those opportunities home to our families, our workers, and our community. I urge you to approve this project with a mandatory local labor hiring requirement built into any ordinance or agreement. That's how we turn the development into a partnership and this project into a legacy. Thank you.
Fran Sarver and then Carrington Wood.
Do I have to state my name?
Yes, state your name, you've been sworn in.
Hello, I'm Fran Sarver, and I live in Mason County, in Maysville, 311 Market Street.
And you've been sworn in.
Yes, I have. Okay. I want to first say thank you to the members of the JPC for your time and commitment to our community. I am here to remind the members of the Planning Commission that your duty and responsibility is to the citizens of Mason County. You are not working for or have a responsibility to the still unnamed hyperscale developers. It is also not your duty to protect or service the fiscal court lobbyists of this project. You are not here to make this easier and less costly for still unnamed corporation. You are here to protect the adjacent residents and families and safeguard the character, land, and wildlife of this county through meaningful guardrails to be set forth in this ordinance. The details you include or omit will affect all of us for years to come. I advocate for exemplary, generous setbacks for all adjacent residents, meaningful noise protection through low maximum decibel limits, because frankly, no one would ever want to live in the presence of 24/7 persistent industrial noise, and special limits put in place for preserving the integrity of the natural system which we all depend on: water, farmland, and wildlife. Mason County and the stretch of the Ohio River Valley is a place with significant history, multi-generational living, and a future yet to be imagined. This data warehouse complex is but one scenario that forces and binds all of us to accept a certain direction. A significant area of the rolling hill landscape of western Mason County will be raised and paved in concrete, such that no one will ever be able to reclaim the natural topography profile again. And how tragic this thought is, when based on what we know about technology and its lifespan, these structures will likely be discarded for next year's or next decade's latest trend. While I worked in a Mellon Foundation digital library, which was at the forefront of digital archiving, I learned that digital media has the absolute lowest archival time frame of any medium. Paper can last centuries under the right conditions, while digital information is lucky to reach a lifespan of 5 to 10 years under normal conditions. Accessing data from even 15 years ago is a challenge most people are familiar with. There are excellent reasons why folks in the community are reticent, doubtful, and concerned about this project, and it does not boil down to fear, knee-jerk opposition, or ignorance, as some have tried to suggest. I genuinely believe no one is against positive change and new business for our community. But when our leaders cite endless positives with no balance of the drawbacks, and corporate cozy representatives make lofty claims without binding agreements to hold them to their promises, it makes me wonder, if it is truly, truly so wonderful, why would you need to bully people into believing you? If you have lived enough decades as I have, then you've witnessed too many cases of unscrupulous and unethical behavior by corporate Goliaths. I've witnessed harmful policies enacted for maximum corporate profit, policies that killed viable industry in our country. I've seen destruction of the natural world with vague promises of progress. I've seen a large chemical corporation, Ciba-Geigy, poison my neighbors in Toms River, New Jersey. It is a real case, you can look it up. The examples are too numerous to name and too common to be rare. Rather than list these nearly endless offenses, I recommend these thought-provoking films for you to watch or rewatch over your holiday break as you ponder the tasks of the ordinance.
Final thoughts, Ms. Sarver.
Okay, the Lorax, Erin Brockovich, Runoff, Matewan, 2001, A Space Odyssey, and It's a Wonderful Life. I would like to remain in Bedford Falls instead of trading the riches we already have for the selfish interests of the Mr. Potters of this world. Thank you.
I can't hear you. Carrington Wood, and then Kathy Inston.
Hello, my name is Carrington Wood. I live on 8027 Seddon Lane. I'm 22 years old. My father and I, we moved here and we're small scale farmers. We got cattle, goats, chickens, and I spent a lot of time caring for the land, for the plants, for the animals. And I don't know if you're God-fearing people, but Genesis, we are commanded to take care of the nature, take care of the land and the animals. And I think it's clear to all of us that this data center would create a lot of pollution to this beautiful county, fertile land, and irreplaceable farmland. Farmland cannot be created. It's been given to us, and it cannot be created. It can be destroyed. And I would also like to speak on AI. If you've done your research, you know that AI, in the long run, the best case scenario would be a lot of unemployment for the people in this country, and probably cause a lot of damage. And in the worst case scenario, something a lot darker than that. And so I would like you all to think about that. Think about your role in this. And you might say, well, AI is larger than us, we can't stop it. But what you can do is you can have clean hands. Thank you.
Kathy Insco, and then Megan Thomas.
I'm Kathy Insco. I've been sworn in. I am a lifelong resident of Mason County. I'm a lifelong resident of farms. I've lived on a farm. I've worked on a farm my whole life.
Ma'am, what's your address, please?
4325 Kentucky 10 Dover. I could have been anything in this world. I could have left here. And when you talk about the young people leaving here, yes, they're leaving here, but young people have always left since the beginning of the time to find themselves. And you know what? More often than not, if you're born a country person, a farmer, you'll come back. You'll come back. And you talk about all the people that's leaving here right now, but what about the people who are coming in? The people who are coming because of the country life. We have something beautiful here, and why would we ruin it? I'm not saying that we shouldn't have a data center. I'm all for improvement. But after the building of the whole thing, that's the employment, then what's going to happen to us? What's going to happen to us? When it came in, it said 2,000 acres, then 5,000 acres, and now it's 8,000 acres. Do you know how much 8,000 acres is? It's 2/3 of what the city of Maysville is. 2/3 of the city of Maysville in nothing but concrete and noise. Have you ever watched a new baby calf be born? Are we going to be able to do that on a data center? Can you go out and take your kids and your grandkids sleigh riding on a data center? No. The people who leave here to go for the other jobs, most of them are at cons or places like that. Those people aren't going to come here to work in a data center. I wouldn't trade. I'm in the middle of farmland. I live right out there in the middle of it all. And we have an industrial park for a reason. Why can't we put the data center on the industrial park? And I don't blame the people who sold out for the big bucks. I never would have, but I don't blame you. It's the only chance some of us are ever going to have. You know, I'm old now. It's not for me, but I have 3 grandsons, 10, 14, and 16, and I wish that they could know the responsibilities and the life that I've lived through farming. Having to get up in the morning and go take down tobacco because my dad has walked the floors all night while it's raining. I know some of you up here are farmers. I know you live on farms. And then I know some of you that aren't. I know some of you. And we depend on you guys. We don't depend on the physical court because we can't. We depend on you guys to help make the right decisions. You don't get any money from us. You don't get any money at all. Why not make the right calls? Please, please, please think before you end our farms. Please, 8,000 acres, 2/3 of Maysville, 2/3 of Maysville under blacktop. Thank you.
Thank you, Thomas, and then Elizabeth Barrett.
I am Megan Thomas. I am not a Maysville resident or Mason County. I'm from Bracken County.
Have you been sworn in?
I've been sworn in. And this is not just for people of Mason County. This affects our whole area. I live on the border of the county in Bracken County, and this affects us as much as it affects Mason County. You know, we don't really need any more sales pitches. What we need is facts. We don't need secrecy. Secrecy implies bad things, like deceit. Okay? So no secrecy. I sort of want to remind everybody the foundation of this country, because it's important. This country is founded on the rights of the people. Okay? And Thomas Jefferson said some beautiful things.
Yeah.
He said, we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men, and I'm going to add women, are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights. So many unalienable rights you can't count them. And that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And to secure these rights, governments are instituted amongst men, deriving their just powers from what? The consent of the governed. That's you. Your consent. Not what they think, what you think. You're in control. He also said that mankind are more disposed to suffer, while evils are sufferable, than to right themselves. I asked the Joint Planning Commission not to bring suffering to this area, not to make us sit in suffering. It's really up to you. We respect you all so much. You have so much power in this. We hope that you will come through for us. I'm not against progress either. I think many people have said that. I don't think this is the right project for us personally. But there, other things maybe are. And I don't mind looking at other projects. I also want to remind you of the three most fundamental rights. Number one, the right of private property. Private property. The free use, enjoyment, and disposal of one's acquisitions. Okay? Second, the right of personal security. Without private property, you can't have personal security, folks. They're dependent on each other. Personal security. Protection of life and physical well-being. For you, your family, everything that you've accumulated in your life. The right of personal liberty. Freedom of action without restraint, as long as you do no harm and you do not trespass on others. These are what our country's built on. So, I know that data centers, they say, need water. But if you do a little research, you'll find out that they build them in the desert. Where's the water there? You can build these in places without prime farmland being destroyed.
Final thoughts, ma'am.
Well, I just appreciate your listening to what we have to say. And I think that also we need a moratorium. And really, there needs to be a ballot referendum to see what the people of Mason County want.
Okay.
Right? Lastly, articles on data center bust. It's being written about now. Too many data centers coming online and a bust that they're looking to come, for these projects. So check it out. Thank you, sirs, ma'am.
Elizabeth Berry and Janet Garrett.
Elizabeth Berry, 5194 Raymond Road, Maysville, Kentucky. I've been sworn in. Last week's presentation highlighted that the data center could never be without power and mentioned battery storage systems. But we remain unsure whether the placement and scale of battery backup would be co-localized for just starting the generators, to offset energy for the data center itself, or as part of a power purchase agreement associated with EKPC or utility scale solar projects. Discussions of battery energy storage systems, or BESS, have recently been part of the testimony at the PSC between EKPC, Sierra Club, AG, and other groups, and appear associated with closed-door discussions. We are all aware of the risk of lithium battery fires. On January 16th this year, a massive fire occurred at one of the world's largest BESS facilities at Moss Landing, California, and it burned for 4 days. On January 20th, firefighters pronounced it out. On February 18th, it reignited. It involved 55% of the system batteries, and local news reported thick smoke spread over the area, and residents reported bloody noses, skin rashes, and lung problems. Recent scientific publications have examined the environmental effects of the surrounding areas. A study of just 300 acres of nearby marsh soils alone measured an estimated 55,000 pounds of heavy metals, primary components of the plant's lithium-ion batteries, and potentially toxic for both people and wildlife. Researchers stated they have a solid set of evidence showing that indeed the fire spilled these metals. Still, their soil samples likely account for only 2% of the total heavy metals the blaze burned, suggesting the vast majority spread elsewhere in the region. They concluded the Moss Landing facility is located within a complex and vulnerable landscape, adjacent to one of California's largest estuaries and near the town of Moss Landings, and is surrounded by intensely farmed agricultural lands. The fallout from the fire smoke plume raises serious concerns about the contamination of soils, water, and vegetation in this region. They stated environmental response frameworks must consider the potential offset between the fire's origin and the deposition zone. The most significant contamination occurred not adjacent to the site of the fire, but kilometers downwind. This distance highlights the need for evacuation protocols and monitoring networks that integrate plume dispersion models, meteorological data, air quality monitoring, and ground-based measurements for deposition. If BESS facilities are used in conjunction with the data center, either on-site or with energy systems elsewhere in this county, the safety of our citizens and our lands demand that this text amendment explicitly address BESS systems, location, size, use, setbacks, and emergency responses. Thank you.
Janet Garrison and then Laura Moran.
My name is Janet Garrison. I live at 31008 Kentucky Highway 435, and I have been sworn in. Data centers are sprouting up all over the country due to the need to support AI. Data center sprawl is a major concern as data centers beget data centers. Most big box data centers are not built so that they can be easily converted into something else. The risk of having a colossal white elephant deteriorating in our community is very real. Therefore, to be proactive and forward-thinking, we need to address this issue by having a decommissioning plan. Local governments are now exploring reclamation bonds, also called decommissioning bonds, to ensure that data center facilities and equipment
are removed when they are abandoned or become obsolete. If the data center fails to properly decommission the facility, the local government can access the bond funds to finish the job. As of August 2025, Kentucky's Oldham County is one of the first jurisdictions to formalize a decommissioning plan. The plan requires data centers larger than 20,000 square feet to secure financial assurance for decommissioning costs and requires regular reviews to ensure the bond fund remains sufficient. Potential costs with an abandoned data center include removal of servers, storage devices, networking gear, hardware, and battery systems. Proper and safe disposal of hazardous materials found in electronic waste like lead, mercury, and cadmium. Dismantling the facility itself in an environmentally responsible manner. Returning the land to an agreed upon condition for future generations. Decentralized and on-site AI, micro, and edge data centers are on the horizon. Mr. Shaw even mentioned this last week. This may increase the risk of data center operators abandoning massive facilities and/or ceasing operations before their contracts expire. EKPC has introduced a similar bond for data centers to recover infrastructure costs specific to their operation. Without such bonds, the financial environmental burden would fall on local taxpayers and EKPC ratepayers. By working together, we have an opportunity to grow responsibly with public support by focusing on transparency, sustainability, and positive community impact. And I personally volunteer to help in any way that I can. And I do believe we desperately need a moratorium to have more time to work with each other. Thank you.
Lori Moran, and then Brandon Moran.
Hello, I'm Laura Moran. I reside at 41065 Kentucky 596. Good evening. Thank you for volunteering your time. I would like to express that the JPC board needs to go to Loudoun County, Virginia, and experience a data center campus. One with the most data centers anywhere in the United States. I am confident that the Mason County Fiscal Court and the City of Maysville has the money for this trip. This money would be best spent collecting information that you now do not have. While you're there, listen to the data centers, drive around like you live in this place. Ask regular people at a mom and pop coffee shop. Read the local newspapers. As a JPC board, you cannot take care of Mason County without making this research trip. The regulations needed have been developed in Loudoun County, Virginia, and they are now rewriting their first set of regulations. A moratorium is needed to gather and mull around the information that is needed to completely and correctly provide regulations for those unnamed hyper data center developers. Don't get rushed. Take your time. Thank you.
That's a 15-minute break.
Yeah, we'll take 15 minutes. Okay, next up is Brandon Moran and then Owen Brown. You been sworn in, Brandon?
Yes, I have. My name is Brandon Moran. I reside at 4837 Kentucky Highway 596. My brother, Max Moran, I trust him wholeheartedly. I'm not as technology inclined as Ms. Garrison would like me to be. But when he first started telling me about these data center projects and that there may be one coming here, I didn't know anything about it probably as much as you all do. But from everything he's told me and from everything we've read, I think there should be a moratorium at least for some time. You know, it's not saying, no, we don't want this. It's saying give us time so we get to know each other. You know, this company sees us, they just see a big power supply. So, thank you all. That's all I had to say.
Owen Brown and then it'll be Jason Shepard. Oh, and you haven't been sworn in yet.
I was about to let you know I have not.
Okay.
Raise your right hand, please. Do you swear or otherwise affirm to tell the truth? Please say I do.
I do.
Thank you.
Thank you. So, my name's Owen Brown, and 6173 Helena Road, Mays Lick. And I'm here to talk about the noise associated with data centers, which is a priority concern of residents that might find themselves living beside one. I'm going to use my time to play the audio from 2 video recordings I made and explain what you're listening to. I took a trip to Data Center Alley, Prince William County, Northern Virginia, and recorded noise experienced by the people living in the Regency condos, 250 feet from an Amazon data center. The noise measured 55 to 57 decibels on a sound meter and was very disturbing. It was so bad that the people were not using the backyards or decks which faced the data center. They sat out on the other side of the buildings. There have been many large demonstrations about noise in the area. This is the noise from that video that I took. I won't play that for long, but you get the idea. I'd like to ask everyone here if they would like to live in the Regency condos beside the Amazon data center in Manassas. If not, then you shouldn't expect your neighbors to either. Who gets to decide if industrial noise is causing annoyance? Developers or the residents that are suffering from it? I've got one more audio that I want to play. I recorded the noise in my backyard, which measured 43 decibels on a quiet afternoon, and all you can hear is the crickets. What I then did was added the data center noise from Manassas and ramped it up gradually to a maximum of 55. Adding just 10 decibels, 43 to 53, created horrible noise, and you definitely can't hear the sound of the crickets. Hang on. Crickets. So, you heard what that sounded like. A nice quiet afternoon, you listen to the crickets. Once that noise comes in, you couldn't hear those crickets anymore. That was 55 decibels. That's exactly the distance and the noise level that Mr. Shaw was talking about last week. 4 times that guy said that he'd be happy to live at 250 feet and listen to 55 decibels. I don't think so. So, I'd like to finish with the concerns residents have about data centers being placed too close to residential communities needs to be addressed in good faith. Large setbacks and meaningful noise control of property lines would help alleviate the community's well-founded fears. A good neighbour doesn't throw a punch across a property line and connect with the nose of his neighbour living next door. That's it, guys. Thank you.
Jason Shevitz, and then Ian Sarver.
I have not been sworn in.
He hadn't been sworn in.
Do you swear or otherwise affirm to tell the truth? Please say I do.
I do.
Thank you.
My name is Jason Jepic. I live at 6203 Parker Lane, Mays Lake. Good evening and thank you for being here. On September 9th, they passed a resolution tasking you with this endeavor to explore rules and regulations to oversee the application of a data center. 35 days ago. Over the past month, I spent countless hours reviewing this proposal, and here's what I've learned. This ordinance isn't just about words. It will shape the safety and health of our neighbors, the quality of rural life we cherish, even the peace and quiet of our homes. Page 3 of your noise document may look like a simple table, but these numbers matter. They affect real families, real lives, your lives. Rebecca Shepick and I submitted written comments that I encourage you to read together, starting with mine first, then Rebecca's. They are essentially one document. Over the last 30 days, I discovered there's 4 different types of data centers. One could argue hyperscale data centers could actually be their own classification. These facilities only want to have 2 minutes of downtime per month. That's less than what I'm allowed to speak today. That's how massive and how constant their operations are. After reviewing the LUMO document, the Land Use Management Ordinance, and a comprehensive plan, I've expanded your table of setbacks to 13 major land uses. I would recommend the new targets I've outlined in there and the new targets for decimals be highly considered to protect neighbors, because a one-size-fits-all does not fit everything that data centers can and can't do. It makes strong sense. We need to protect the Mason County Special. It's a strong sense of community, and you've heard a lot of that speak tonight. So my call to action to you is one, community benefit agreement, which we heard about last night. Do we have one? If so, when will the public get to see it? Can we at least get a redacted version? Transparency matters. It's not, should we or should we not reconsider? Did we leave anything on the table? I got 3 to 4, maybe 5 things in the back of my mind. Setbacks and decimal limits. These are critical to protecting the quality of life. Can be sure they're clearly defined and enforced. We've got about $15,000 to $18,000 left of the fiscal court money left for you to do something with. I urge you to take a field trip to Loudoun County. They're revisiting their zoning regulations because they didn't get it right the first time. Their second attempt is going on right now for the next 13 months to redo what they didn't do right the first time. Let's look at the industrial zone lands first and foremost. Lastly, the comprehensive plan showed a lot of support to protect farmland. Let's honor that commitment. Thank you for your time. Have a good day.
Have you been sworn in?
I have not been.
Do you swear or otherwise affirm to tell the truth? Please say I do.
I do.
My name is Ian Sarver. I live at 311. Pull that up a little bit.
Yeah. How's it come up there?
Is that better?
Yeah.
Well, thank you for being here, taking the time to be here and to listen to us, and there's so many of us, and thank you for letting us speak on this. One of the concerns...
Sarver, what's your address?
Oh, Ian Sarver at 311 Market Street. Sorry. Yeah. One of my concerns on this that's not spoken of as much is anger. And the anger is deep. The land will be scarred, but the scar in this community is already started, and it will be here for decades, probably when that data center is obsolete. And it's real, and it will get worse. There are several reasons for this anger. One is the NDAs, the secretiveness. I actually think NDAs are called for in certain circumstances. The key here is not all NDAs are created equal. That's the key. So because they are allowed for certain reasons, SEC regulations, things like that, these corporations who want to pull one over on a community, they take advantage of that. Don't kid yourselves. That's what that's about, and if people know it. The second thing that people are angry about is the taking away of something that is irreplaceable. It is irreplaceable. It's gone. Once it's gone, that's it. And for it to be that much percentage of the farmland in the community, and people say, oh, it's hilly, it's not good for farms. Well, guess what? The land is not only there for your profit. It is land. It is sacred. The wildlife, the land itself. One day, when there's maybe only 20% of farmland left in the community, there will be a federal moratorium. You have the chance now to get ahead of that moratorium federally, because that will happen one day if this goes unchecked. Excuse me. The other thing that makes people angry, and I think this is the biggest issue, is the feeling that this is being steamrolled through by certain officials in our city. I've never gotten a sense that there is a genuine interest in actually considering the possibility that this should not exist. Anybody taking that position is a lobbyist for the corporation. They're not representing the city. Again, don't kid yourselves. It's morally reprehensible, and it's disgusting, frankly. There's no... To put a like on a comment where an influencer says that people who disagree are idiots, are hillbillies, are ignorant, and that's the biggest city official, the most loud one, vocalizing this, to put a like on that comment, what do you think of your constituents? My God. The arrogance of that. And then to not even, for one person to call him up and ask him, Owen Brown actually, and him to say he did not think of one negative thing about this at all. I'll end with this. I recently watched a 1976 movie, Polish movie by Krzysztof Kieślowski, arguably the best filmmaker of all time. And the characters in this movie, it's called The Scar, are dealing with a chemical factory being built in rural Poland. And the people in this movie, in the beginning of this movie particularly, it's almost verbatim what's going on in this community. This is an old story. We have the archetypes. We have the archetypes from Shakespeare. We have the archetypes going back to mythology. These are the same cast of characters. Which archetype do you choose to be? Which archetype would you want your progeny to hear about? That you were that type of person who stood up for something that's irreplaceable. Something provided by God that is irreplaceable. Which archetype, which path do you choose to be? If there's any group of people I most respect here, it's this group, your volunteer. I respect what you're doing, and I believe in you. And I believe that you'll think about this, whether it's a moratorium or something else. But like that movie called The Scar by Krzysztof Kieślowski, let's not leave an emotional scar that can actually be much deeper than the already profound impact this will have on the land. Thank you very much.
Okay. Is there anybody who didn't sign up, who didn't speak, who wishes to do so? Because we can swear you in, add you to the list. Okay.
I would like to raise a procedural matter after the speakers. So after the finished speakers, I have a procedural matter that I want to put before the planning commission regarding moving to get my exhibits introduced on yesterday's special consideration.
Well, real quick, does anybody on the planning commission have any questions for anybody who has spoken?
I have a question. We've heard a number of acreage use tonight, and I was wondering if somebody could clarify just exactly how many acres this is going to entail.
Yeah. Have you been sworn in tonight?
Yesterday, not today.
Okay, so let's go ahead and swear you in. Do you swear or otherwise affirm to tell the truth? Please say I do.
I do.
Please introduce yourself.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the commission. My name is Jack Ammerman with Stantec Consulting. I am the developer's design engineer for this potential project. I live at 733, or I don't live, but my office is at just at 733 Marquette Avenue, Minneapolis, Minnesota. I'm a licensed professional engineer in the state of Kentucky, Minnesota, and several others.
Sir, can you stand a little closer to the mic, or raise it up? Or you can take it out if you want, I think.
There we go. I'm a licensed professional engineer in the state of Kentucky, Minnesota, and many others. I've been working on due diligence for this project as a consultant for quite a number of months now. The current acreage that we're looking at is 2,000 acres, give or take. And I'm going to note that for a project of this scale and magnitude, things change rapidly. We do initial site layouts, we take a look at what's feasible, and something else is uncovered. We find that there's an area that's unbuildable, or there's an issue with, any aspect of everything that we've been talking about tonight. And so the approach from a development perspective is to cast a wide net to see what is feasible and then slowly work that down to what is real. And so, yes, we've heard 8,000 acres, but as of right now, standing here before you today, we are currently looking at 2,000 acres, give or take, as a final site project boundary area.
Maybe, go ahead, you get it.
Good question. We've heard a lot about protecting prime farmland. Do you all take that into consideration when you're considering the site location?
Absolutely. And in addition to that, I'll note the acreage, you're not going to have concrete property line to property line, right? We have an enormous amount of green space that we factor in areas that we look to conserve in perpetuity as conservation areas as well within that acreage.
Another question?
So from a setback perspective, your developer, they're okay with expanding that because they're not going to build next to property lines anyway?
Not necessarily. There's a trade-off with everything, right? And so if you expand that, then there's added costs in different areas, right? Added costs, added issues. When we look at that setback, you have to realize that a building setback to the principal building is one thing, but when we look at other aspects of the impervious area, parking setbacks, utilities, those aspects of it also need to be considered.
Can you say what you mean by principal building, or explain what the principal building is?
Absolutely. So principal building, the data center building itself, accessory building like a guard shack at the driveway entrance.
So we talked about prime farmland, and you'll do the best due diligence in protecting prime farmland. The area out there that you're looking at is really karst. It's full of sinkholes. How are you going to deal with that?
Well, my specialty and my background from an engineering perspective is water resources, environmental engineering, and then I ended up in a career in land development. However, on the project team, we had an entire team of geotechnical engineers, and that is something that we've been studying quite a bit already on this. When I initially saw that, red flags went up. We had a lot of calls to discuss it, and karst is something that can be engineered and designed through. For these type of buildings at this scale and magnitude, we can't afford to allow any risk of settlement. And when we look at karst, you can do ground penetrating radar, you can map it. There are ways to fill it to actually make the landscape more stable, to reduce the risk of any type of sinkholes or issues long term. And so from a design perspective, that is something that we can work our way through, design through, and build through.
So it's not a game changer?
No.
Anything else?
I have one more question about, you're talking about the main building that does this work. Is that going to be centrally located within a 2,000 acre tract, or is that part of the design to alleviate noise and stuff like that?
Absolutely. I mean, there's lots of factors that go into this, right? Topography, earthwork. I've been doing lots of different analysis with my team on where is the best location to site these buildings from a cost and construction perspective, right? If we had a perfectly flat site, that building would go up, a little bit more cost effectively and quicker than areas where we have lots of terrain. In addition, there's areas where, there are public waters of the United States that, if we can do a layout or a project where we do not impact those, that is absolutely preferred so that we can avoid some of those natural areas. Different things come up that require us to just centrally site these buildings in a way that are most beneficial to not only the design of the project, the goals of the developer, but also the needs of the community. The other factor here is, based on the decisions that the community makes and how this proceeds, things change again, right? And so we can't even sit here and say, hey, this is a locked-in final site plan, because we're creating the rules that we need to play by.
I'm sorry to ask again, but you mentioned earlier about setbacks and said not necessarily. Just to confirm, there's a difference between operational structures and supporting structures. And those supporting structures, I'm assuming a guarding shack and parking lot doesn't make noise, right? So the noise structures, they can accommodate a further setback on the noisy structures rather than the supporting structures.
Given enough site area to allow that, yes. But there's that trade-off, right? I heard comments about other facilities that are located on much smaller tracks. But with the technology that we're looking at here and the size of the advanced technology and the size of the project, the further the setback and the more constraints on it require more land area to provide that same design that meets that noise requirement, right? So that's that trade-off aspect. I can sit here and confidently say 2,000 acres, but if all of a sudden we were hit with a 2,000, 3,000 foot setback, that number changes in order to meet other requirements and other aspects.
So are you at liberty to say how big of a footprint is your major data center? Can you say that?
Can we hear the question? We can't hear you all.
Yeah, Kirby, you're not really on that.
Can you give us the footprint of the main facility? If you're not at liberty to tell us, that's perfectly fine. But if you know and you can share with us, how big of a footprint is the major data center?
I am currently not at liberty to say. However, I will note. I will note that the next step of this process will require a site plan submittal.
Will we have that information?
We don't.
So per my understanding, and I may be wrong on this, but once we move through this process, through the fiscal court for this text amendment, as the project moves forward, that next step is to share a site plan with that next submittal. And at that time, the members of this commission and everyone will be able to review that preliminary development plan that has the preliminary site plan, preliminary utility, grading, drainage, everything that we would like to dial in to be able to have some of those more direct conversations on what that design is.
Yeah, once they seek rezonings, that's when a lot more details of the project will come out. Right now, this process is formulating and adopting regulations for data centers generally, and then after that's completed, the next step would be rezonings. Because, as I understand it, the project is proposed for land that's not currently I-3, and in the regulations you all are holding a public hearing for right now, it says you can only have this land use on I-3 land. Does that make sense?
Yes, we
It makes sense. The only heartburn I have, George, is that some things out there on the landscape cannot be changed. The sinkholes, the streams, prime farmland. Those things they're going to have to deal with, but I think as a planning commission, we would need to know what section of that is going to be affected. I mean, how do you make a plan for something you don't even know where it's gonna go?
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Typical design that you've worked with in the past, do these types of buildings, if there's more than one, are they typically lumped together or they be spread out evenly across a larger area to reduce light, noise, etc.?
Our approach would be to concentrate them as best as the site allows for the utilities within them, right? I can't put two buildings dead next to each other because I can't get utilities through there. But in no way would we look to put a building over here, a building over here, a building over there. That's not good design, that's not practical. And so our approach would be to concentrate them to the best of our ability from a cost and a design perspective.
So if together, if they're close in proximity and not spread about, what's the advantage of large acreage?
The building is the building, but these facilities have substantial utilities that go along with them. And so ensuring that there's sufficient room for stormwater management to meet, environmental family regulations. There's slopes and terrain that we have to deal with. Just from a grading perspective, there's areas where, you need that space in order to develop the site in a proper engineering fashion. Ensuring that there's sufficient room for depths of utilities and corridors to allow for those in those easements, that's critical from a design standpoint. And then in addition, looking at the site we're focused on here, ensuring that there's the best spot within that acreage to build is the key aspect. And so we've gone and will continue to go through numerous iterations to figure out what is the best design. Not just slap it in there and, oh, this is the spot. That acreage is, give options to figure out the best design process and standpoint.
Well, given the luxury of size, how close to the perimeter would you anticipate an operational structure to be that made noise?
So based on the results,
you don't know the rules yet, but
based on the results of these rules that are forthcoming from this effort, at that point, my team will work through redesigning and figuring out how that project will work within the confines of those rules.
Good. Anything else? Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, George, where are we at now?
If there's nothing else, you all can close the public.
What about Hank?
Oh, right.
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, I'm Hank Grady. I'm not a Mason Countyan. I was sworn in yesterday. I was sworn in again today. Does that take care of the preliminary questions? I have asked to speak, to take care of what I think is a procedural matter before the close of the public hearing. Yesterday, I tendered a PowerPoint presentation that was shown until I ran out of time, but that is in the record, is it not?
So it has been my thought. It has been my thought that, like we did with the solar process, that the commission will, at a subsequent meeting, unless they want to do it tonight, formally adopt transcripts produced by the court reporter into the record. And I've not been formally asked, but it would be my thinking if you produced a PowerPoint as part of your presentation last evening, that could come in as part of the record, as part of your presentation.
Do I need to move or ask that the PowerPoint presentation be in the record?
I don't think so.
Well, so it's in.
I think that we're aware that you would like that be made part of the record. I don't know that you need to make a formal motion.
I recommend that you all wait until a subsequent meeting to put everything in the record, because you don't have everything and you haven't seen everything. We don't have the transcript from tonight and last night. You guys haven't seen the written submittals that we've received yet. Are you comfortable putting something into the record? You don't have everything. No. And you haven't what? You haven't
No,
seen
I think we'll wait till our January meeting to do that.
Will you allow me to ask to have the things in the record that I want in the record? I mean, my fear is if I don't ask to have them in the record now during the public hearing, and I show up the next meeting and say I'd like these in the record, I will be told you didn't ask during the public hearing, you're too late, they're not in the record. I'm not sure any lawyer in the room would challenge me on that, but I'm worried that there are lawyers in the room right behind me, and there are other lawyers that I'm looking at, and so I've got to anticipate barriers. And there are things that I want in the record, I think they will help you, and I want to ask to have them in the record now during the public hearing so that I'm not accused of waiting too long and therefore losing that opportunity. Do you understand my request?
Yes, what are you formally asking to be put in the record?
First, my PowerPoint presentation. Second, last night I gave you all a notebook. I've gotten the notebook back from one of you, but you have in it my letter to you that I got through most of, and you have the exhibits that are in the notebook that I attempted to explain to you during my presentation. I would move that my letter and the exhibits be admitted into the record as part of my testimony. I did have my letter notarized by Mr. French prior to the hearing. I can show you the copy of that if you need it. But I would certainly second ask that my letter to you and the exhibits be admitted in as part of my testimony. That's number two. In my letter, I refer to three items, three documents. One document is, and all of these were sent to George prior to 2 o'clock yesterday, and because they were referred to in my document, and I wanted to get them into the Planning Commission office before 2 o'clock yesterday, and before I presented my comments and these exhibits to you last night. Those documents are the Urban Land Institute Guide for local communities. It's about a 20-page document, and it is the entire document is in the office of the Planning Commission. And it was emailed to George before 2 o'clock yesterday. The second item is a 460-page document, but it is the qualification for data centers for Prince George County, published on November 15th, 2025, last month. And it is the complete record of Prince George County going through exactly what you're going through. They engaged a year-long process to develop a data center ordinance, and as part of that, they looked at 5 counties across the nation, including New Albany, a city that's been talked about numerous times, but they also looked at Loudoun County and Frederick, Maryland, and other counties, Atlanta, Georgia, and they studied all of them, and then it's the minutes of their deliberations to go through exactly what you're going through. I picked out 3 pages of that. It's the last 3 pages in my notebook, comparing the 5 counties they were looking at. I would move that item, those 2 publications that I submitted to you be admitted into evidence and made part of the record. And the final document, yesterday I referred regularly to the work of the Kentucky Resources Council. Yesterday, Tom Fitzgerald, the principal author of this Kentucky Model Data Center Zoning Ordinance, he published it. He sent it to me. I sent it to the Planning Commission office again before 2 o'clock yesterday. I referred to it repeatedly in my presentation to you yesterday, and this is a complete Kentucky-based zoning ordinance coming from the Kentucky Resources Council, and the entire document is in the office of the Planning Commission, and I would like to move that be admitted
because I believe all three of these documents help you do your work. Now, I've encountered a 10-page rule, and I've been told that these documents exceed the 10-page. With these documents, I would ask that you take exception to the 10-page rule, because they're offered to give you an example of other people working on exactly what you're working on, and I think you would benefit from having the entirety of each of these documents. So I'll be moving to have those 5 documents made a part of the record, frankly, to help, in my opinion, you do your work. I would love for you to rule on it tonight, but I do need to get that in front of you so that I'm not accused or faulted for sleeping on my rights. Do you understand my request?
Mr. Addy, your request is noted for the record. To what extent is your notebook that you provided to the Planning Commission last evening, to what extent is that essentially a written summation of the PowerPoint presentation that you produced to the Planning Commission?
This has more detail than the PowerPoint presentation. So there are quotes here, in here, that are on the PowerPoint presentation. And then below what was on the PowerPoint, there are points that I made in here that that are not on the PowerPoint. So I don't want to lose this letter. There's more in the letter than on the PowerPoint. And I obviously didn't get through the PowerPoint or the letter. I would like to have all of that made a part of my testimony.
Okay, your request is noted for the record. And the commission will, I think the sense that I get from the commission is that they'd like to take this up at a subsequent meeting to determine what exactly will be made part of the record. But your request is noted.
Thank you.
All right. We need a motion to go out of public hearing.
I'll second.
John? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We go back into a regular meeting.
All right, next item on the agenda.
Is there anything else, Louis?
Yeah, we have an item for discussion of future meetings. So the next step is contingent upon collecting all these documents. And the one thing that we won't have immediately is the transcript from tonight. I'm assuming it'll be one transcript from last night and tonight. Now, we've already received the transcript from last week, but that meeting was, I don't remember exactly how long it was, but that was one night, and it was about, I think, 2 or 3 hours. Last night, I think, was 3.5 hours, and tonight is 2.5 hours. So I don't know exactly when we're going to receive that. But I'm going to look at special meeting dates at the library for January. If I get that before Christmas, I'll send that along with all the documents we've received to you all so that you can review them and you have time to review them. I'm assuming you all want plenty of time to review these documents.
Yes, we do. And there's a lot to take in.
Because here is the transcript from last week's public hearing. It's
73 pages.
73 pages, single-sided. And this tonight and last night are probably going to be at least double that. We've got submissions that we've received. So I'm sure you all want to review any submissions we've received. You want to review the ordinance again. You want to review the transcripts so that you're prepared to come back to a meeting in January and talk about what any changes you'd want to make, anything that's not in the ordinance that you want to see, stuff you want to take out, et cetera, et cetera. Is that the consensus of the Planning Commission?
I think it is.
Okay. So.
And I personally, I would personally like, and if there is staff report, based upon what you've heard, and as a planning and zoner administrator, provide that expertise back to this board of what you've heard in testimony the last several days and last week about some options and/or recommendations as well.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's probably not going to be a very long staff report. I have a to-do list item to write some stuff. I've got some, Andy Shaw specifically, his review, his company's review of the ordinance was very insightful. There you go. Thank you.
Some people pay me for my use of the English language.
But anyway, yes, that's going to be included with all these documents you all need to review to be able to move forward. Since we don't have all the documents yet, and I haven't created my document, you can't really schedule the next meeting, but they're going to be special meetings anyway because we'll probably have them back over. We won't be in here. We'll be hopefully in the library so that there's adequate seating for people to watch the sausage being made.
I would suggest, Mr. Chairman, that they come out as you have them available to us. Don't wait for a lump sum. Just feed them to us as they're available.
I would rather give them to you all at once.
Okay.
So that you can sit down with it and digest it all at once. Or you can plan to digest it. That's what we did last time. Plus you get into, okay, what have I sent you? Because these are going to be physical copies. They're not going to be digital copies. So I'm assuming you all want physical copies to read.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yes. So, that's easier. It's easier to parcel it out, but I might leave one out if I don't just give it all to you.
Want to make it easy on you.
Yeah. But you're not going to be able to move forward until you have them all and you review them all.
Okay.
I can start compiling them in preparation for making copies in preparation for receiving the transcript, et cetera. I'll have time to do that later this week and next week. And if we get them all, I can send them to you end of next week.
So we don't have a necessary date for the next one. It all depends on how quickly you get the documents. And then we get proper advance notifications, not only us, but
if you really want to, I can send you what we've got. And then once I have the final pieces to the puzzle, I can send those out if that's what you prefer. Would you rather have them all at once so that, okay, this is everything I need to look at? Or would you rather, okay, this week I'm looking at these, next week I'm looking at that? How do you guys want to do it? I would prefer to get it all at once, and that's what we did last time.
That's what we did the last time. So
And so if you get more pieces, did I misplace the first few pieces? It's however you want to do it.
let's do it all at once.
All of them? Okay. But I will prepare for the final pieces.
Good.
Like I said, I already have a to-do list item to write a staff report. I'll probably start on that Monday. Then I'll get everything else together so that if the stars align, I can get this to you probably late next week, or at least send them out. But I can't promise that, and I'm not gonna put a gun to Don's head.
It will not be middle of next week.
Yeah. So.
Not even if I didn't sleep between now and then.
Right. Yeah.
Can we get a round of applause for our court reporter? Working hard after hours, driving here, and then driving home when we're finished. Thank you very much.
Move to adjourn.
Is there anything else? Yeah.
No, move to adjourn.
Before we adjourn, I'd also like to thank the public. I'd like to thank all of you all for being here. Planning and zoning works best when the public is engaged. And you may not like the recommendation that this commission ultimately decides, or you may love it. But at the end of the day, it's important to the commission that you all feel that you've at least been heard. And without you all coming and telling us what you think, we can't do our jobs. So thank you all for being here. Thank you for being respectful. We've got a ways still to go, and we anticipate quite a few of you showing up to those meetings. And we request that you let us do our jobs, and we'll get a recommendation out as soon as we feel like we can do it with the information that's been provided to us. But thank you for being here. Thank you for your input.
In January, the weather could be really bad.
Name, please.
Laura Moran. The weather could be really bad. That would hinder some people coming to the meeting. So we need to give consideration to the weather and time for this board to take in everything you're going to give them. The first week of January, or the second week of January is too soon. And I need you all to consider that the weather is terrible in January.
I'd like to respond to that. The biggest consideration for holding these meetings is going to be scheduling a place where the public doesn't have to sit on the floor like they did at one of the last planning commission meetings. And doing that means that I have to work within the schedule of the places that I seek to schedule.
You have to come back to here if it's so hard.
Well,
That's all I have to say.
Well, I mean, this venue is a little large for it. I think the community room and the library, they are very accommodating, and that's a decent size venue for it. So that's going to be one of the major considerations for it, because I don't want, the last meeting we had, there were some people that sit on the floor. That was just to talk about procedure stuff, and plenty of people showed up, and I appreciated that. But I don't think anybody wants us to continue this process in that room. So that's going to be one of the major considerations. And they will be special meetings because they will not be in our normal room during probably not during the normal meeting time, date, et cetera, et cetera.
Thank you.
Okay.
Motion, I'll second that motion on the floor.
Who was the first?
Rick Lawrence. Have a motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We adjourn. Thank you, everyone.